Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei. I'm so excited to paint with you today for another watercolor journal page. And we are going to be doing a monochromatic painting today. So what does monochromatic mean? Monochromatic means one color, mono meaning one. So we are going to be using just one color, but lots of values of that color. And what does value mean? Value means the lightness or darkness of the color. So I am going to choose the fabulous Payne's Gray, one of my favorite colors. Payne's Gray is what we're going to be using. It's a cooler gray color, so it's got some bluish undertones to it. Depending on the brand, different brands have different levels of undertone to their Payne's Gray. This is Core brand, QOR. It's actually pretty neutral. I really love a Daniel Smith Payne's Gray, which I don't have any right now, but that has a really heavy blue tone to it. But anyway, I digress. I still love me some Core Payne's Gray. Okay, so we're going to do a misty landscape with some trees, like a misty tree line landscape. And we're going to do it all in one color. So the first thing I'm going to do is I got out some Payne's Gray here. I'm going to water it way down. And we're going to be putting in our first layer. And we are going to be doing some wet on wet here. I'm going to take my brush and kind of wet my whole area here. I'm using a size 10 Princeton Velvet Touch brush. So I'm going to kind of make everything damp. You could definitely use a bigger brush to do this. You don't have to be just like pulling water on here. You could spray your page too. So I actually have a mister, kind of get everything wet. Just so we can start out with a wet, damp surface. And you don't want big puddles and you don't want water like dripping down, but you want everything to be wet. So I'm going up and down, back and forth, kind of letting it absorb. Now, if you have cheaper paper or cellulose paper, sometimes wet on wet can be a challenge for you. The paper doesn't hold up to water as well for as long. Just keeping that in mind. All right, so I'm going to take my watered down Payne's Gray. And I'm basically going to start to create tree lines, or what I think would be tree lines. So we're going to put one here. I'm going to leave a space in between. I'm going to do one here. And I'm going to do one down front here as well. So they're kind of zigzagging through this valley. These are going to be pretty abstract. So I'm just kind of painting in ziggy-zaggy lines here. There we go. So just some pointy lines. This is tilted this way, so it's kind of pooling over on this side here. I don't know if you can see that, just because my page, I'm getting towards the end of my book and the page kind of falls down this way. So just propping it up a little bit here and spreading those out. So these are going to kind of be the base for where my tree lines are going to go. Just popping in some more darker color. Let me just pull out a little water over here. Again, you don't have to be too specific with these layers here. You're going to get little bursts and that's okay. And I'm going to let this one kind of overlap here a little bit. Still getting this pooling over here. All right, so that we can see things are starting to be established. This is a nice little line back here, and we're setting up kind of the far away misty background, and we'll put in more detailed trees that are kind of poking out through the mist after this dries. Just putting in a darker layer down here. Rinse off my brush. This is closer to us. It's a little darker. It's not as much atmosphere to go through or mist to go through, so we're going to see it as a little darker. All right. But the key to this is leaving space. Like, you have to leave this white space. You can't paint it all in. You have to protect it a little bit. That is what is going to create that misty look and feel. I'm just actually pulling out a little bit of color. All right, we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back and do another layer. All right, we're back, and our layer is dry, and we can kind of see the structure of where our tree kind of range is going to be. And I have Payne's Gray, still using Payne's Gray, and I'm going to lighten it up again. We're going to do at least 2 layers, one lighter trees, but we're going to do wet on dry, so we're not going to wet the paper first, and then a darker layer with a darker value of trees. So there's lots of different ways to paint trees. I did a tree video in the sketchbook not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, so you could definitely go check that out. But I'm just going to be doing basically pine trees. And I'm going to start with a light color. I'm going to start at the top and kind of work my way down. So however you normally paint your pine trees, they don't have to be done exactly this way. I'm going to go right to the edge of the page here. But with these, I'm not going to finish everyone all the way to the bottom. I'm going to kind of let it fade into a bit of nothingness. So you see detail, but then it kind of fades into abstract, misty bottom. So when I get towards the bottom, I'm just kind of detail towards the top. You can definitely switch to a smaller brush if you wanted to. So if you wanted to do like a size 4. So I just switched to my littler brush here. And again, you can throw in, so in our last video, we did purposeful backgrounds where we added water to kind of create those funky, drops of water to create those funky patterns and those backgrounds. You can do, this is a great time to use that purposefully. And we're just going to keep kind of going and building. These ones closest are going to be the most detailed, and we're going to put even darker color up here in our 3rd layer. But I'm just going to, as I go, I'm just going to get less and less detailed, kind of just the tops of a few trees sticking up, but not getting too, not finishing a lot of them, letting them kind of fade into the misty area and using lighter and lighter color. And these will dry lighter as well, just remembering that. And these I'm making them shorter and shorter as they go. All right, so, and then you can continue this on. So I'm gonna go even lighter, kind of in the background here. Doesn't look lighter, but it is. A few trees back here. Kind of just barely seeing the detail of a few trees kind of poking up. You can even skip like spots in the middle of trees. And that gives the impression that that the mist is kind of covering that section of the tree. So this one got very dark. Just gonna go over it with some water to lighten it up. And these ones that are further away should be a little bit smaller. We shouldn't see as much of them, and we shouldn't see as much detail. Just dropping some water on these back here. And then let's do this middle range. This one is going to be pretty big over here, not too much further. And just find your way, kind of making your way through your whole piece. Breaking up, you don't want any, you don't want to overdo it. You want to kind of make purposeful decisions of where trees are going to go. You want to be cognizant or really think about sizing and value and how light or dark something can be. If something's really, really dark back here, it's going to throw things off. So you want it to be darkest here, a little bit lighter, and the lightest as you go back, and a little smaller as you go back as well. I'm actually going to make these in front even a little bigger. Just so we have that reference of these are the biggest, medium, smallest as we go back in space. And again, I am going to add a little bit darker detail in this front layer as well. And you could do this in any colors, like if you wanted to do this in a more green color, like a cool green color with this mistiness, that would be great. I just love Payne's gray and painting in monochromatic colors. So I'm just gonna add in a little bit darker tones here, and I'm actually gonna add like to the bottom corner here. And just pulling up with my brush from that area, some of that color into tree-like shapes. Again, this is in a misty forest, so you're not going to see like a whole lot of perfect detail as long as it has a tree-like shape. So I'm just doing a center area and I'm kind of dotting back and forth. And then in this darker range area, I'm going to drop in some water, big water plops. Just gonna tighten these up a little bit. So down here in the bottom, giving it more of this misty organic feel. So let's put in a slightly darker here. And then we're going to drop in some water. And then we're just about done. You kind of keep doing this until you feel satisfied, like it's balanced. And then you can see, like, as we get further back, it gets less and less detailed. Whatever's down in these little valleys here, you can't see at all. Mistiness is covering it up. If you want to put like a super light wash, if the white is too much, you can put a super light wash of gray on there. But just be careful. And you can kind of play and play and play with this. There we go. Now our misty forest is all done. You can add as many details as you want. If you want to put a few birds flying up here, kind of out of the mist, you want to make them super, super light. You can put a few little V-shaped birds kind of circling. There we go. In the distance. And there we have it. Let's take off our tape. Thank you so much for, thank you so much for watching again today in this new episode or new session of our watercolor journal pages. We are almost done with this journal and we'll be moving on to a new one soon. I also have in the next video, I'm going to I just got new journals in because I know this Bao one is a little hard to find right now. So I have two other ones that I will either recommend or not recommend that I purchased to see what we like, and they might be a little easier to find. Thank you so much for painting with me. Don't forget to check out the description for links to supplies and materials that I use regularly. Follow me on Instagram, and I will see you soon for our next watercolor journal page. Thanks for painting with me. Take care, y'all.